How's everyone doing? Welcome back to another episode of The Banker Next Door. I'm your host, Dr. Joe Berquist. Today, we're going to be taking a look at some FTC new data that just came out. Consumer fraud numbers have just been exploding in the last year. So we're going to take a look at a press release from the FTC talking about their new data. And we're also going to look at an infographic from them basically laying out the top 5 investment scams, the age groups that are most effective, and just some other really good general information involved in this topic, as it were. So let's go here to the press release. And I'm just going to make this a tad bit bigger here so everybody can see this. So this basically reads, new FTC data show a big jump in reported losses to fraud to $12.5 billion in 2024. Consumers reported losing the most to investment scams at $5.7 billion. So newly released Federal Trade Commission data showed that consumers reported losing more than $12.5 billion to fraud in 2024, which represents a 25% increase over the prior year. According to the FTC's data book, this number is not driven by an increase in fraud reports, which remained stable. Instead, the percentage of people who reported losing money to a fraud or a scam increased by double digits. In 2023, 27% of people who reported a fraud said they lost money, while in 2024, that figure jumped to 38%. Consumers reported losing more money to investment scams at $5.7 billion than any other category in 2024. That amount represents a 24% increase over 2023. The second highest reported loss amount came from imposter scams, with $2.95 billion reported lost. In 2024, consumers reported losing more money to scams where they paid with bank transfers or cryptocurrency than all other payment methods combined. The data we're releasing today shows that scammers' tactics are constantly evolving, said Christopher Merfurage, director of the FTC's Bureau of Consumer Protection. The FTC is monitoring those trends closely and working hard to protect the American people from fraud. The FTC received fraud reports from 2.6 million consumers last year, nearly the same amount as 2023. The most commonly reported scam category was imposter scams. Losses to government imposter scams in particular increased 171 million from 2023 to a total of 789 million in 2024, a huge increase. Online shopping issues were the second most commonly reported in the fraud category. This was followed by business and job opportunities, where reported losses totaled 750 million, up nearly 250 million from 2023. The other most reported categories of fraud were investment-related reports and internet services. Showing major growth in recent years within business and job opportunities is the subcategory job and employment agency scams, where the number of reports tripled from 2020 to 2024, and the amount consumers reported losing to these scams jumped from 90 million to 501 million in that time frame. For the second consecutive year, email was the most common way that consumers reported being contacted by scammers. Phone calls were the second most commonly reported contact method for fraud in 2024, followed by text messages. So again, emails, phone calls, text messages. Again, nothing shocking there, but that's where we're at. The commission monitors these trends carefully and takes a comprehensive approach to detect, halt, and deter consumer fraud. The FTC's Consumer Sentinel Network is a database that receives reports directly for consumers, as well as from federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies, the Better Business Bureau, industry members, and nonprofit organizations. More than 20 states contribute data to Sentinel. Sentinel received 6.5 million reports in 2024. These include the fraud reported detailed above, as well as identity theft reports and complaints related to other consumer issues, such as problems with credit bureaus, banks, and lenders. In 2024, there were more than 1.1 million reports of identity theft received through the FTC's identitytheft.gov website. The FTC uses the reports it receives through the Sentinel Network as the starting point for many of its law enforcement investigations. And the agency also shares these reports with federal, state, and local law enforcement professionals across the country. While the FTC does not intervene in individual complaints, Sentinel reports are a vital part of the agency's law enforcement mission. People who report to reportfraud.ftc.gov about losing money to a scam receive next steps information on how to try to recover their money. These reports are a vital part of the agency's law enforcement mission and also help the FTC to warn consumers about fraud trends in the data. A full breakdown of reports received in 2024 is now available on the FTC's data analysis site at ftc.gov/explore data. These data dashboards break down the reports across a number of categories, including by state and metropolitan area, and also provide data from a number of subcategories of fraud reports. New this year is a data dashboard showing more detail on fraud reports received for each state, broken down by age. So, yes, and then just to wrap this up here, so to learn more about consumer topics, you could go to consumer.ftc.gov or report fraud, scams, and bad business practices at reportfraud.ftc.gov. Follow the FTC on social media, read consumer alerts and the business blog, and sign up to get their latest FTC news and alerts. So, and for advertising that, the FTC can send me a check at, no, I'm just kidding on that one. But no, I will tell people, one of the things I am going to do on the channel here in the coming weeks is I am going to cover some more of this data and the data dashboard, because I was looking at this thing this week and they've got some treasure troves of stuff on the FTC website. They do a great job. And what I'm going to show you guys now is, so this is the infographic that went along with this press release. So if you go and look into some of their websites with their different data dashboards and stuff like that, this is the kind of stuff that they're talking about, and this is the kind of great stuff that's on there. So I love these infographics, and we'll definitely cover more of these in the months ahead. But let's take a look at this. So this is just a scammy snapshot of 2024. So this is based on reports from the Consumer Sentinel database, which we just talked about. And again, just to recap some of this information that was highlighted. So the top frauds: number 1 is imposters. Number 2 is online shopping and negative reviews. Number 3 is business and job opportunities. Number 4 is investments. And number 5 is internet services. Job scams and employment agency losses soared. So total losses in 2020 went from 90 million to 501 million in 2024. Total reports: 38,000 in 2020, up to 105,000 reports in 2024. Losses to investment scams keep climbing. So you can see here in 2022, they were 3.8 billion. 2023, 4.6 billion. And then 2024, they're up now to 5.7 billion. So this year there were 2.6 million fraud reports filed, 12.5 billion reported loss, and more than 1 in 3 people who reported a scam also reported losing money. Reports by military consumers. So 99,000 fraud reports led to 584 million reported loss. Imposters' highest number of reports, 45,000, total losses 200 million. Here is a very interesting thing. Younger people reported losing money to fraud more often than older people. Basically, between the ages of 20 and 29 years old, it was as high as 44%. And yet with the older demographic, years 70 to 79, it was 24%. And that's just kind of surprising from a number of the things I've reported on here on the channel, various different reports we've covered over the last year and a half. It's usually always tending toward the older demographic, like especially with a lot of the crypto scams, a lot of the things we've seen more recently. A lot of times, often it is the older demographic, 65 and older senior citizens, if you will, that are the most prevalent victims to these type of scams. But here we get a very different view here from this report. A lot of it going to the younger generation, people between 20 and 29 years of age, at 44%. And it's, again, is that really surprising when the 3 primary methods are phone call, email, and text messages? That's how the younger generation fully communicates, is basically through phone and text and email. So not real. I guess in a certain respect, I guess that shouldn't be that surprising. So, and then big losses follow scams that start with a call or on social media. So phone calls, highest per person reported losses, $1,500 on median loss. Social media, highest overall reported losses, 1.9 billion in total loss. And emails, the highest overall number of reports, 372,000 reports. So So some very interesting information here coming from the Federal Trade Commission. Scams obviously way up in 2024, and I hope people will again. I report this information because I hope people will take it and use it wisely. I hope people be very careful, be very cognizant of fraud out there. Just watch your emails. If it, and I always say, if it doesn't look good, just delete it. Just delete. Remember, if it really is important and somebody really is trying to get a hold of you, they'll call back or they'll text you again or they'll send another email. But if you even have a slightest hint that you think it might be fraud or some kind of nonsense, just delete it. Delete it and get rid of it. Delete the text message. Delete the voicemail. Delete the email. Just get rid of it. It's always better to be safe than be sorry. So again, I hope people enjoyed this episode. And if you did, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe, as that always helps the channel. Remember, we are on Rumble, YouTube, and all major podcast platforms. Please be sure to leave your comments down below, as I always love getting back to everybody. And as always, make sure to check out some of the other content on the channel. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see everyone again real soon. Thanks a lot.